We got strength versus strength. We got weakness versus weakness, and it's Auburn and Arkansas. Be a totally normal football game.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into this special crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Razorbacks. I'm Zach Blackerby, host of Locked On Auburn. He is John Nabors, host of Locked On Razorbacks. What an interesting matchup that we have on our hands this Saturday. John, what's the temperature of the Arkansas fan base going into this one?
It is a weird one, but as weird as it may be, can I say that it's better than what it was like 4 or 5 weeks ago? You know,
sure.
It's a strange thing to where you fire Sam Pittman mid-season and your interim happens to be Bobby Petrino, which we all know about the history there. And in the 2 games that Bobby Petrino has coached, has been against really good teams and they played really well, but they still lost. And it's kind of like, well, I mean, they're playing better, but they're still losing. So what can we be excited about this? Is he going to be the next? It's just a very weird feeling that I think fans are in a pretzel. They don't really know what to think right now.
Yeah. I mean, both of these teams are kind of in a similar boat. I think both of these teams are better than their records are. And they've both played really tough teams, but it's like that's just how it is in the SEC. And both of these programs and both of these fan bases believe they're in a spot where they should be able to compete with those teams in the SEC. And so then the fan bases are asking leadership, are you doing the right things in order for that to happen? I mean, I think both of these teams are in similar spots. Just one has moved on from their coach, and then one seems like they're in the process of moving on from their coach. We'll see what the next few weeks looks like for Auburn. But I mean, said it in the open there. I think Arkansas has a really good offense. Auburn has a really good defense. They'll square off on Saturday. Arkansas has a really bad defense. Auburn has a really bad offense. They'll square off on Saturday. I think usually like when it's good versus good or bad versus bad, it typically benefits the defense is kind of where I've always believed. And so I'm curious to see what plays out on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a more interesting matchup between 2 0-4 conference teams in the history of the SEC because of the impact, but also because of the matchup and the similarities that there are. I know Auburn can relate of having close losses, one possession losses to good teams.
Yeah.
That's been Arkansas too. The only difference is
unable to close and like find heartbreaking ways to just literally drop the ball.
Yeah, and Arkansas can relate, but the only difference is Arkansas's done it with their great offense and being close, and Auburn's just done it with their great defense and being close.
Sure.
And Arkansas's had, you think about if Arkansas doesn't fumble that ball against Ole Miss late or even Memphis late, and Pittman's probably still the head coach. I mean, it's that crazy of a close thing, but I don't really know what to expect as far as how these two matchups go, because if you're a Razorback defense, you're probably like, man, finally we get to go up against a bad offense. And instead of just giving up 1 billion yards. But then if you're Auburn, I'm sure you're looking at, could finally get to go up against a terrible defense. And maybe Jackson Arnold can finally get going. It's just, I could see this game going so many ways. And forget home field advantage. Does not matter. Arkansas has not beaten Auburn at home since 2015. And every time they play before noon, it always goes Auburn's way. So you can't even throw that into the mix.
It does seem like Auburn has done well in Fayetteville, regardless of what the temperature of the teams were going into it.
And it's the same thing with Arkansas at Auburn for whatever reason. Not saying they've won all the games, but it feels like these
last year. I mean, that seemed like a layup for Auburn, and you guys forced a bunch of turnovers in the first half, and Auburn couldn't dig out of the hole in the second. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then of course in 2020, we don't have to bring that up as Bo Nix fumbling the ball, but he didn't. So that's fine. We don't remember those things. But still, point is that it's one that I am so excited about. Like I'm really interested about, because this is a big one for Bobby Petrino. People can convince themselves, hey, he didn't beat these.
Does he get the job if he wins on Saturday?
I don't think he gets the job for sure. I think he's got to beat Auburn and then Mississippi State next Saturday, because that's at home too, and you should take care of business. And then you go into the bye week with Texas, LSU on the road, and then Missouri. But I think that if he wins these next two during the bye week, they give him the job. but I don't think you can just win one. And I think you have to win this game against Auburn if you want to be truly considered as a permanent head coach.
Yeah. And then, the question on the Auburn side of this, when it comes to like the head coaching situation, is I have a hard time seeing Hugh Freeze survive if he loses on Saturday. But I mean, you're hearing these reports come out of saying like support seems to still be backing Freeze, but like how much of that is just marketing and messaging, like saying, hey, fans, keep supporting this team, hold on. And how much of it is legitimate truth? I think that's kind of the big question most Auburn people are asking right now.
Yeah, because it seems like it's all the cool kids doing now is firing their coach in the middle of the season, whenever you're tired of them. Arkansas did it. Florida's done it. We know Penn State's done it. And it seems like every weekend there's a new team doing it.
Yeah, Arkansas and Florida are a little bit different, though, because there were questions on how they survived last year anyway. Right? Like, would you say that's fair with Pittman? It's definitely fair with Napier, right? And so, like, Hugh Freeze, it's, okay, you put all your chips on the table for this season, and then it's fallen flat. You have no offensive identity whatsoever. It seems like you've missed on quarterback now for 3 out of 3 seasons that you've been here. It's like, does that difference matter? I don't know.
I guess I look at it as, and you would know better than me, I look at it as when you know. Like, I think it's at the point where everyone knows, hey, Hugh Freeze is not the guy anymore. And it's just like, if you know it's that, then you move on. It was the same thing with Pittman. I think it was the same thing with Napier, which I agree. But when you know, and you make the move, then I think that's maybe what's just a little surprising is that Auburn, who has definitely fired their fair share of coaches for not winning and has even done it. I believe Brian Harsin was the middle of the season when Cadillac Williams took over. So it's like, they've done it before. So kind of, I mean, you just waiting on the bye week. Maybe it's that, but I'm a little surprised that they haven't made a move yet.
Yeah, the Harsin situation was different because it was getting like worse and worse. It seemed like week by week. I don't know if this is happening. Like the team still seems locked in, but you're right. They have done it recently in the middle of the season. So would it happen that I'm surprised he wasn't let go on Sunday, just to be honest. I was surprised by it, but he's still here. And so will Auburn be in a spot to beat Arkansas on Saturday? We'll see. Who has the edge in this one? Arkansas's favored. Do we agree with that? How do we think this unfolds? That's next right here on this crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Razorbacks. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. John, we all know that FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. Arkansas 1.5-point favorite, according to our friends at FanDuel. Is that a good line? You think it moves more? What are your thoughts on it?
I think it moves more, but it's still just funny hearing Arkansas favored in an SEC game. It doesn't come very often.
Yeah. Auburn's been favored in one relevant game this year. It was against Baylor. They won it. They have been underdogs in all the other ones, and they have lost those. So take that for what it's worth. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Quo, formerly Open Phone, still same great service. And it's a tool that makes a huge difference in the life of business owners. Because, John, what happens if you're calling for a specific need, a specific service, and somebody doesn't answer?
Then I move on to someplace else.
Yeah, and you lose money. And Quo understands that, like, small businesses, you can't have that happen. It's the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying 2 phones around. That's super, super nice. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly Open Phone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That is QUO.com/lockedoncollege. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. This is a crossover edition of Locked On Auburn, Locked On Razorbacks. Zach Blackerby, John Nabors here with you. I've kind of joked about this on my show for the last 3 weeks, where it's like, okay, you play all against all these tough defenses, and you get Arkansas. It's big storyline. Auburn's the only team to not score 20 points in an SEC game. And like, I think they score 20, John, but like, I don't think they score 30 against this Arkansas defense, just because what Auburn does offensively, I don't think capitalizes on mismatches correctly or consistently. And I think physically, There's a lot of mismatches that Auburn's offense could have against Arkansas's defense, specifically receiver versus defensive back. And I also think they could run it if they really wanted to, and they choose to not do that in these types of games. I just don't trust Hugh Freeze to call plays to execute on that. That's just because of what we've seen over the last few weeks. And until I see something different, that's where I'm going to live.
Yeah, and I think it's fair because I think Razorback fans are seeing this defense is what it is. You can't change it. You can't just automatically, well, let's just change the scheme and then suddenly it happens. One of the biggest things is with Arkansas's defense has honestly been not just that they're bad and they don't have the talent and the depth, but the defensive line depth has been a problem. And they last week against A&M, they were short of 2 of their defensive tackles, which wasn't their starters, but just guys that they could rely on. They had to move a freshman defensive end and to D tackle. Like, that's just not what you need to do.
Not great.
Yeah. So if you're Auburn, you look at that and you're like, man, just right up the middle, keep running it until you can't anymore. And also the thing is that Arkansas has not had any takeaways. They just can't get takeaways. And as weird as it is, but and stupid as it is to say, it's true. Arkansas's best defense is just going to have to be lucky. Like, I mean, that's really, it's just maybe Jackson Arnold has a ball slip out of his hands, or maybe somebody, when they get hit, they just don't have it tucked away enough, or some freak play happen. They muff a punt. I mean, that's honestly going to be the best defense that Arkansas could have, is just trying to get a takeaway. Arkansas has not had a takeaway in quite a few weeks. And so it's something to where the offense is clicking about as great as you could ask, but the defense has to be able to take advantage of any sort of mistakes that Auburn may make. And if they don't, Auburn's just going to be like every other offense, do whatever you want to do against them. But if Arkansas, though, gets to the quarterback, because if I'm mistaken, Jackson Arnold's been sacked, 26, 27 times this year? Craziness.
Arkansas's like 9 of those were against Oklahoma.
That's true.
That's gotten better. That's gotten better over the course of the season. But like the Auburn side of what you're talking about, like Connor Lew, who's, going to be a draft pick. We'll see, but he tore his ACL last week, so he's out. So there's some discussion like what it's going to look like at center. Do you play Kel Ellis, who's been the sub? But he's 17. Like, he's supposed to be a senior in high school, and like, you don't love that, but he's outperformed my expectations of him. I think he's been great. But then they've talked about moving Mason Murphy, who's transferred from USC. He's been starting a right tackle all season, to center, and I don't love that. So we'll see exactly what happens there, but there is going to be some change on the offensive line, regardless of who they decide there. So how does that impact that matchup? To act like it won't have an impact on the game, I think would be silly. So I definitely want to bring that up for Arkansas folks to be aware of. And like, talking about takeaways, this Auburn offense is bad, but they don't turn the ball over. Like, and that's kind of what's allowed them to stay in these close games, is the defense does their job, and the offense, they just kind of are there, and the defense holds on as long as they possibly can. I expect more of the same of that, like super like uncreative things where, maybe you score on your first 2 drives. That's kind of been the thing, as Auburn scores early, and then the other team slowly creeps in over the course of 60 minutes. So that's what I'm predicting happens here. I think Auburn jumps up to a 10-0 lead, and then Arkansas slowly comes back over the course of the game. That is my prediction on how this unfolds.
Well, to me, it's like, I'm a huge Bobby Petrino fan, and the guy he's still an incredible offensive mastermind. I mean, if you would have told me that against Texas A&M, which I'm not saying they have the best defense ever, but a pretty solid defense, that they were going to have over 500 yards of offense and 42 points, no turnovers, I would think that they would win the game, but that just shows you how bad the defense is for Arkansas. Yeah. And so I think Bobby is going to have a game plan for Auburn's defense. It's not to say that they're just going to do whatever they want, but Arkansas has always got off to pretty strong starts in the first quarter, especially if they get they're very aggressive. They want the ball first. They want to set the tone. I think that if Arkansas gets the ball first, start the game, and they go right down the field and score against Auburn, it might be good night, sweetheart. Like, I really think it could get to the point to where they do that. But to me, it's going to be fascinating for the Auburn sake, as a Razorback fan who knows that their coach got fired. When it started coming around, this team just gave up against Notre Dame. I'm wondering if Auburn ever has that happen when they think the inevitable's on there. Will the team just let go of the rope? As a Razorback fan, you're hoping it's this weekend that they finally do, but I'm going to be curious about the at what point do you let go where if you're a defense and you're constantly having to carry this team, do you say, all right, enough's enough, man. We're tired of doing this. I'm going to be curious about the mentality of Auburn.
I do think the buy-in, it doesn't appear to have changed. Like towards the end of the Harsin era, you kind of were talking to players, you heard things and it kind of trailed off. If that's happening, like nobody's really catching it yet. Could it happen? I'm not saying it's impossible, but if I had to guess, like I don't think they've given up yet. Because I think they see this as the most realistic opportunity to turn things around. I mean, no disrespect to Arkansas, but like this is compared to the 4 previous games that they've played. Arkansas feels the same way about this game too. Like this is an important game for both these programs and for this season. Which is a little funny. Like we recorded the squad show last night that'll drop, I guess, this afternoon after this goes. But everybody was more excited to talk about this game than like the ranked on ranked matchup because it's fascinating, John. Like it's truly a fascinating matchup.
Yeah, for all the wrong reasons. And that's why I was saying is like it's the most interesting 0-4 matchup in SEC play between 2 0-4 teams. Because it's like from the Arkansas perspective, this is the audition of Bobby Petrino wanting to become your head coach, which is just, again, I want to reiterate how insane it is that Bobby Petrino is the head coach of Arkansas again, the no neck brace thing, all of that. But it's like, this is his audition tape. And after the performances against Tennessee and A&M, Razorback fans are like, man, maybe Bobby still got it. I mean, Arkansas has the best offense statistically in the SEC right now. And it's not like they have just a bunch of NFL players on this offense. Right. I mean, he's doing a great job. And it's important because if he wins this game against Auburn, that kind of puts him in the full driver's seat of being the clubhouse leader of the head coach. But if they lose, then it kind of changes a little bit of everything. And, with the Auburn angle, and I said this on the squad show too, if Auburn had an interim coach right now going into this game, I would feel worse about it for Arkansas because you always feel like an interim gives you a little bump. But with the Hugh Freeze thing, not saying Arkansas wins because they love losing one possession games, but you just feel about as confident in this game as you have all season long in any game.
One of these teams is going to have to win, right? One of these teams has to win this game. And so, like, will they be able to close it out? One of the teams is going to have to. We give our official picks and more in just a moment right here on this crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Razorbacks. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. Can you believe that, John? Can you believe that? From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Final few minutes of this crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Razorbacks. Zach Blackerby, John Nabors here with you. I've kind of already given my pick, and it sounds like you're picking Arkansas as well. But I think this is lower scoring than Arkansas's games typically are. I think the total is going to look more like what Auburn's games has this season than what Arkansas's games has been. And there's a chance they meet in the middle, right? And they're like both in the high 20s, low 30s. Like there's a chance they meet there. But I'm going to guess like 24-21 Arkansas. That is my pick right now.
See, I'm thinking it'll be a little bit higher scoring just because of, kind of like you said, meeting in the middle a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Arkansas wins this game, which, I know Razorback fans are going to get so mad because you're going to be like, oh, you picked us to win. I picked them to lose all season long and they still lost. So there's no reverse psychology here. But sure. I think that this is about as good of a chance and good a feeling you had to beat a team in the SEC this season. And I think Arkansas wins this one. I think they get to the 30-point mark. I think the final score will be 34-24. Is what I'm thinking right there. I think.
So what does that look like? Is it close for a minute, or does Arkansas, like you said, they score early and they just kind of hold the lead the entire time? What does that 10-point win look like?
I think it's close. I think at halftime it's tied. It's like one of those things where it's tied at halftime, and then Arkansas just makes a couple of plays. Maybe they get a turnover, defensively, and I think that you finally have. Some plays make his Taylor Green's really good, man. Like he's a home run hitter, but he's a strikeout guy. He'll do some things that are incredible, but then he'll take a 20-yard sack. It's just, but I think that the way he's played late in games, especially, has been awesome. And I think that he makes some plays late in the game and kind of pulls away for Arkansas.
Yeah, Auburn's done a really good job against mobile quarterbacks this season, but this defense has also done well against everybody. They're like holding opposing offenses to like 10 to 12 points below their average on the season. So does that continue this weekend? Like, what is Arkansas averaging per game? Do you know?
I know it. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know it's well over 30. It's like 37, I think, 37 points.
That sounds right. I was going to guess high 30s. Yeah. So holding them to 24-ish would be kind of on par for what Auburn's defense has done. I mean, Auburn's defense is really, really good. It's just such a waste. I mean, I'm sure it's the same way you feel about Arkansas's offense. There's a game last year when Auburn went to Kentucky and Hugh Freeze finally quit doing the RPO stuff, and he just called the plays that made sense with his personnel versus what Kentucky was doing defensively, and they just let Jarquez Hunter eat all night. He was incredible. Does he do that? Because I think if they call the game that way and let Jeremiah Cobb and Jackson Arnold run the football and just focus on winning, don't worry about getting Cam Coleman or Eric Singleton targets or snaps, but just focus on winning, Auburn will win this game. If they make this offense running focus with Jackson and Jeremiah, Auburn will win. I just don't trust Hugh Freeze to do that at this point.
Yeah, I think that's if you are Auburn, like just the weakness of the defense for Arkansas is very apparent and very obvious. Just exploit that. And if you do and you're effective at it, you'll have success. I mean, because I don't think Arkansas is going to score on every possession offensively against Auburn's defense. I really don't, assuming that Auburn comes to play. But it's like, I feel that there would be more of a likelihood that this game is continues to be close and continues to go back and forth. But the second that Auburn makes and does Hugh Freeze things of, oh, I want this to happen, though, and lets his pride get in the way, that's when the fall will happen in this game.
Let me tell you something that's going to happen. Jeremiah Cobb's going to run like a 30-yard run, or maybe Jackson. There's going to be a 30-yard run or something. Maybe they get into the red zone, and then there's going to be like 3 straight passes, and there'll be a field goal attempt. Like that's the Hugh Freeze experience right now, sadly.
Yeah, I know, and that will be something that Arkansas will take as a victory, because the craziest stat is Arkansas is giving up on average a half a point per play defensively. That's how bad it is. A half a point per play nearly. And again, if you're Auburn and you go out there, this should be a real big ego boost for this offense. It should be. And if it's not, blow the thing up, because they're like, if Hugh Freeze, even doing Hugh Freeze things, can't be effective against this Razorback defense, knowing the weaknesses, it ain't it.
Man.
It ain't it.
Dreading this game. I'm dreading it so much.
Hey, listen, it's
even if we win, I feel like it's going to be like, okay, yeah, great. Like it's such a lose-lose situation for Auburn right now.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the thing is for Arkansas, I think the crowd will be there. The weather looks a little bit rainy too, once again. So we'll see if that plays a factor into this at all. But Arkansas has, again, played better. They've bought really all in. And I think it's just going to take that one win to kind of open the floodgate a little bit for them. They do that against Auburn. I think it's going to really, surpass them. But as we've talked about, the road team in this series always seems to play better than the home team more often than not. And Auburn's defense is legitimately good, and Arkansas has not faced a defense that good this season. Yeah, maybe besides a Notre Dame, but it should be fascinating to see how much this plays into both sides of the ball.
For the Auburn fans making the trek to Fayetteville, drop a few recommendations on what they should do.
We'll bring ponchos, do that. Also, there's a few places, like the Dixon Street area that's pretty close to campus. You can check that out. Don't go to Hogtown. Hogtown sucks. It's a place that's right there next to the stadium where they have like bands and music and stuff. It's too loud. It's obnoxious. But anyway, don't do that. But there's a lot of good local restaurants that you want to check out. Please
give us a few. Give us a few local restaurants.
Hugo's is good if you can get in there. It's pretty crowded, but Hugo's is always a staple there in downtown Fayetteville. Check that out. I know Herman's is also kind of a staple there as well. Any of those restaurants on Dixon Street, you can check out and have a good time. Walk around the campus. It's really nice. I was really impressed when I went to Auburn, how nice their campus was. Yeah. And so I think that, people are friendly. Usually when you're 0-4, you're a lot friendlier. So
So you came out for the basketball game. We had breakfast at Byron's, and you thought Auburn was great. So that's cool.
Yeah, it was. Was it Mama Goldberg's? I think is what it's called. The sandwich.
Yeah, the soggy sandwich. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a good time. So this will be. I'll be curious. I think the fans will show up. I'll be curious to see how many Auburn fans show up to this. And unless they're just maybe
Auburn travels, no matter what they do, they travel.
As long as deserves
better right
now.
Y'all
can't be any worse than what we had to deal with Aggie fans last week. So I think it'll be all right.
What were they unbearable?
Well, they're just, the stuff that's just doing this stuff and the things that no one, and they're like, okay, that's great. Who cares? And they're just, they're pretty obnoxious, especially when they're good, which they are. So
they are good,
but they have to stop taking injuries. They're taking away from the integrity of the game.
Mm-hmm. Sure. For all the Auburn folks watching, how can they check out all of your Arkansas content?
Locked On Razorbacks, wherever podcasts are found, you can find it. It's on YouTube. It's the number one Razorback podcast in the world, and I'm going to keep saying that until it's no longer true, which it never will be. So be sure to check it all out. Football, basketball, baseball. The Razorbacks are all we have here, and we are big on all of the sports. So, YouTube. Check me out on social media, John Nabors Show. You can find all my content there as well.
Yeah, and for all the Arkansas folks, if you want more of the Auburn side of this matchup, the number one Auburn podcast in the world. I guess I should start saying that. I don't know. Wherever you find Locked On Razorbacks, Locked On Auburn is there as well. Please like the video. Please subscribe to our channels. We'll see you next time. This has been a crossover edition of Locked On Razorbacks and Locked On Auburn.